Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Razan Pereira. The Government of India on Thursday amended the General Financial Rules of 2017 to enable imposition of restrictions on bidders from countries which share a land border with India on grounds of defense of India or matters directly or indirectly related thereto, including national security. The Department of Expenditure has, under the said rules, issued a detailed order on public procurement to strengthen the defense of India and national security. As per the order, any bidder from such countries sharing a land border with India will be eligible to bid in any procurement, whether goods, services, or works, only if the bidder is registered with the competent authority. Political and security clearance from the Ministries of External and Home Affairs respectively will be mandatory as well. In this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze the changes in the bidding regulations for border countries. Joining me on the program today are Subhash Chandra Pandey, former financial advisor, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India; Jayan Das Gupta, former ambassador of India at the WTO; and K. Badrinath, senior journalist. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Mr. Pandey, let me start the program with you. What do you make of these new amended and changes in rules, and how do you see things panning out?
You see, government procurement or in extended government funded public procurement through parastatal, state government, etc. It is outside the purview of WTO regime. India has not signed the agreement on public procurement, general agreement on. So the public procurement is regulated by national laws in accordance with the principles and priorities set by it. And the registration of vendors is a standard practice which is now being extended specifically for bidders from land bordering countries. There are also two exceptions have been made where the lines of credit have been extended by the Government of India and for medical supplies up to 31st December. The order is applicable to central government, and constitutionally the directions have also gone to state governments to also cover their parastatal. So the whole purpose is prior registration for purpose of security clearance and political clearance for bidders from countries sharing land specified land borders.
Okay, all right. So, Ambassador, let me bring you into the picture now. So, what is the ambit and structure of the General Financial Rules of 2017, and why is there a need to amend the rules?
The first thing is that if a government agency or public sector undertaking invites bids and it opens it up to foreign bidders, then you can't make a distinction between countries between companies which are coming from countries with a boundary with India. So it will have to be open to all. So under Rule 144, a sub-provision of under 11 has been added. It says that because of national security reasons, the government can exclude certain countries or impose conditions, which it has done now. And one of the things which is there is about the state government, because the state governments could possibly carry on with their procurement from companies which are located in the neighboring countries. Now, under Article 257(1), if the union has to exercise power, and the state government also has to then exercise its powers in consonance so that the union can exercise its own powers. So under 257(1) of the Constitution of India, the central government has given directions to the state government that this guideline should be followed, which Dr. Pandey has just mentioned. So this is the ambit, and basically it will cover not only the central government agencies, but state government and public-private partnership also in its ambit.
Okay, all right. So, K. Badrinath, what is the impact likely to be on foreign companies from across the border? And what does it mean really as far as FDI in our country is concerned? Is it going to be affected in any way as a result of these rule changes?
See, there is you cannot see this order in isolation. It needs to be seen with a string of steps that were taken by the government of India after the Galwan Valley incident that happened across East Ladakh. And after that, if I recall properly, all foreign direct investments that need to come in where we share borders need to go through proper approval route, which were earlier on the automatic route. This was an interesting thing, which this was the significant first step towards, perhaps insulating Indian economy from perhaps unwanted players in this country. And after that, if you recall, there was a second big step that was taken, that up to rupees 200 crore worth projects or contracts, you don't need to bring in any foreign player to bid for a project. Then after that, this is the third issue where you're trying to say that, look, the border areas, but you can read it as China, if I may have the freedom to say that, saying that, look, because other countries where you have bilateral, loans that are happening, or Exim loans and lines of credit have been exempted in this order. So, for example, you don't have anything to do with Nepal, maybe Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and that kind of stuff. Of course, Pakistan is not covered under the exemption, and the other only country is perhaps China. So, my guess is twofold. One, it could be geostrategic in nature. Second part is the kind of issues we have been facing with companies from few countries is one issue which has been bothering the security establishment in a big way. So henceforth, my guess is that this undesired impact of these investments or these contractors getting into India seem to have been emphasized upon now, and they have been stopped from getting into government procurement contracts. And there is some background to this as well. If you see telecommunication business and railway contracts and road contracts as well, there have been certain restrictions imposed. Some contracts have been even abrogated, some tenders have been cancelled, not only by the central agencies, even by the states.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to take this particular aspect that K. Badrinath has raised forward with you, Mr. Pandey. This is not an isolated incident. It's it's something that we've seen a string of measures that have been taken in the recent past, considering the present regional circumstances and conditions. Take us through some of the steps that have been taken, in the recent past by the government. For instance, there were some FDI changes, I think, in April, where the rules were amended. As far as FDI is concerned, and also on June 23rd, the government made it mandatory for sellers on the GEM portal to clarify the country of origin of goods and so on and so forth.
जी पहली चीज तो मैं ये क्लैरिफाई करना चाहूँगा जो बद्रीनाथ जी ने कहा कि जो FDI रूल में चेंज है, आपको याद होगा हमने इसी मंच पर चर्चा की थी। ये उस समय हुआ था जब HDFC बैंक में चाइनीज इन्वेस्टमेंट 1% से ज़्यादा जो हो गया था रेगुलेटरी लिमिट्स में, और उस समय जब ये बात आई थी तब ये फैसला किया गया था इसी तरह के कंटेक्स्ट में कि जो कंट्रीज जिनसे लैंड बॉर्डर शेयर करते हैं, तो उन कंट्रीज से FDI के लिए प्रायर परमिशन की ज़रूरत होगी, वो ऑटोमेटिक रूट पर नहीं होगी। तो ये गालवन से पहले की बात है ये है। लेकिन उसके बाद जो मेजर्स हैं, आपने अभी बताया कि कंट्री ऑफ ओरिजिन, और जैसा कि एक पॉपुलर सेंटिमेंट डेवलप हुआ है कि किस तरह से हम लोकल प्रोडक्ट्स को बढ़ावा दें, तो वो लोकल प्रोडक्ट्स को बढ़ावा देने की जो इच्छा है, कंज्यूमर अवेयरनेस, वो तभी हो सकती है जबकि कंट्री ऑफ ओरिजिन को स्पेसिफाई किया जाए। ताकि कंज्यूमर को चॉइस दी जा सके। इस पर कोई, जैसा मैंने पहले ही कहा कि ये जो ऑर्डर है ये पब्लिक प्रोक्योरमेंट के लिए है। प्राइवेट प्रोक्योरमेंट, चाहे वो इंडिविजुअल सिटीजन्स का प्रोक्योरमेंट हो या प्राइवेट एंटिटीज का प्रोक्योरमेंट है, उसमें इस तरह के कोई बाइंडिंग ऑर्डर्स नहीं दे सकते, लेकिन उसमें कंज्यूमर को चॉइस दी जा सकती है, और वो चॉइस इफेक्टिवली तभी एक्सरसाइज होगी जब कंट्री ऑफ ओरिजिन के बारे में क्लियरिटी हो। तो और इसके साथ ही जहाँ तक मेक इन इंडिया को प्रमोट करने का सवाल है, वो एफर्ट उसके पहले से चल रहे हैं। हमने 2 साल पहले इस तरह के निर्देश जारी किए थे DPIIT से, पूरे कैबिनेट के अप्रूवल के बाद, कि सारे मंत्रालय जो हैं जो भी ऑर्डर्स देंगे उसमें वो जो लोकल प्लेयर्स हैं उनको परचेज प्रेफरेंस देंगे अगर उनका एक लोकल कंटेंट बेसिस पर वो डिटरमिन होता है कि वो एलिजिबल हैं लोकल सप्लायर, और अगर वो प्लस 10% की रेंज में हैं तो उनको एक मौका दिया जाएगा कि वो फॉरेन बिडर को छोड़कर अगर वो उस पर L1 को मैच करते हैं तो ऑर्डर उनको दे दिया जाए। तो ये जो सारे सीरीज ऑफ स्टेप्स हैं, इसको गालवन से जोड़ने की जरूरत नहीं, क्योंकि ये पहले से लिए जा रहे हैं मेक इन इंडिया को प्रमोट करने का। इसमें जैसे अभी इंपोर्ट में भी आपने देखा कि कुछ इंपोर्ट आइटम्स को ओपन जनरल लाइसेंस से उठा के रेस्ट्रिक्टेड लिस्ट में डाल दिया ताकि उसकी इंपोर्ट लाइसेंसिंग की जरूरत है। अभी हमने इसी मंच पर चर्चा की कि इंपोर्ट मॉनिटरिंग मैकेनिज्म बनाए गए। तो ये सारे जो है एक पूरे जो इस दिशा में काम कर रहे हैं कि जो लोकल प्रोडक्ट्स है उसको कैसे बढ़ावा दिया जाए, और इसको किसी खास से जोड़ने का देखने की जरूरत नहीं। सभी देशों में इस तरह के हैं, जैसा ये जो जिस तरह की व्यवस्था अभी इस आप ऑर्डर में की गई है। जैसे चाइना की बात चल रही है, तो चाइना में ये व्यवस्था बहुत पहले से, अगर कोई भारतीय कॉन्ट्रैक्टर वहां पर चाइना में बिड करना चाहता है, रेलवे का प्रोजेक्ट हो या किसी का हो, तो वहाँ के जो रेलवे इन्वेस्टमेंट एजेंसी है उसके साथ उस इंडियन कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को रजिस्ट्रेशन मैंडेटरी है, और रजिस्ट्रेशन वो आसानी से मिलता नहीं है। तो ये व्यवस्थाएं ऐसी हैं कि जो सभी देश अपने अपने उसमें इस तरह से करते हैं और उसके लिए स्वतंत्र हैं।
Okay, all right. So just to quickly summarize the points that you're making, there is no binding order really as far as private entities are concerned. This should not be, or the steps that have been taken in the recent past should not be associated to what has happened on the border with India and China, but it should be looked at in the larger picture of the Make in India, from the Make in India perspective. And it is not just limited to India. Countries around the world are doing this and are promoting their own companies, is what Mr. Pandey is suggesting. All right. So, Ambassador, as far as this particular step is concerned, or looking at the larger picture as well, how much of an impetus is it going to give to our homegrown countries, and what kind of an impact it is going to have really as far as Atmanirbhar Bharat is concerned?
I think it will encourage Indian contractors to bid and to, get together with other contractors who have the financial heft to bid for very large projects, be they in the highway sector or in the telecom sector, in the electrical power distribution grid system, or for generation purposes. So I think it will indeed give a fillip to Indian contractors to bid. Having said that, we have not excluded Chinese companies, for that matter, completely from the bidding process. We have just said that political clearance and security clearance will have to be obtained first, and through a committee which is being set up under the DPIIT, and then you can bid. So the Chinese companies can still bid. Now, one thing which I wanted to mention in this context is that there was a security issue which was raised many years ago, around 2005, if I remember. Chinese contractors were carrying out many projects in India, and their employees were coming in on tourist visas. And then they would go to a neighboring country and get it extended, and they had the run of the whole country. They would go all over the country doing whatever they wanted to, but there were security implications. So the government was compelled to put in a provision that if Chinese workers were coming in to install things or to in connection with a project, they would be restricted only to the area which was associated with the project. For instance, a national highway project or a power project, etc. So this was there. Then there was a restriction on telecom equipment supplied by Chinese companies, and this was raised only around 2010 or so, when we said that, all right, subject to security clearances, they would be allowed to come in. Now, all these things are coming back home to roost, because we know that there are serious problems with the 59 Chinese apps that have been banned on security grounds mainly by India, and on suppliers, large suppliers like Huawei, which is picking up across the world in other countries like the US, UK, Germany, etc. So there are security issues which are associated, and I think the government is, in its legitimate exercise of its sovereign power, well within its right to exercise this power and to say that we will give the security clearance and the political clearance before you can come and bid. And as Dr. Pandey has mentioned, there are many restrictions, barriers to entry of Indian companies in bids of the government or other parastatal agencies in countries including China. Even in Europe, for instance, it is not very open in many of the member states of the European Union that prior registration is a requirement. So, and the US, for instance, for many of its government procurement functions, it says that only signatories to the government procurement agreement of the WTO, which India is not, can participate in government procurement bids for many things. And so this is very much of a piece with what other countries are doing, and we are very much within our rights to do it on security considerations, and it will have this very encouraging effect on Indian companies to bid for large projects and to seek synergy with other companies which have complementary qualities or abilities.
Sure, certainly. All right. K. Badrinath, is a message also being sent out to certain companies to behave and adhere to the rules, that there will be there will be no compromise really as far as matters of national security are concerned?
Yes, that is precisely what I was trying to hint at in my first remarks, that there is definitely a political message as well as a security message through all the measures that have been taken by the government, its agencies, and its associates. And secondly, the issue that Mr. Pandey had referred to about the HDFC investment with the Bank of China, if you recall, after the last show that we had on this, the Bank of China has sold away most of its shares in HDFC, and they have got the political message rightly. Second part, with regards to the ambassadors or Mr. Pandey's observation about encouraging Indian companies, yes, the product preference and price preference have been an issue limited to a few sectors and few products and few services. This ambit seems to have been expanded in a big way. Third part, when you say about coming back to the messaging part, the security message and political message is loud and very clear, in the sense that in the last few months, whatever has happened between China and different countries around the world, India cannot be a spectator to such developments. Second part is, there is no denying the fact that both countries are trying to work out a mechanism on the border issues, and its repercussions are bound to be felt elsewhere around the world. And this has been happening, and it's not just that India has done it in some isolation or some such thing. No. See, economic, business and investment relations cannot be segregated from geopolitical and strategic issues. Whether it is on the paper or not, well, this is a fact. And this is how the world works. Well, when we talk about other countries doing the same kind of thing, yes, it is a fact that many countries have been, wary of others who are trying to get into their internal affairs. For example, Italy, the telecommunications, the real estate business, then the textile business is being, dominated by one particular country. If that is the case, well, why not India take care of its, both offensive as well as defensive interests? There's nothing wrong about development, ensuring your own interests in the global market. Simple.
Right. So Mr. Pandey, the government, of course, on its part has taken several steps and, has been pushing forward with this whole Atmanirbhar Bharat agenda. But, can the companies really keep up? What is it that our companies need to do so that they can take advantage of the situation and also ensure that they put their best foot forward?
You see, the first thing to underline is that these measures, the financial significance of that has to be understood, how much impact it is likely to make for Indian companies to get ready for this. Also, simultaneously, the efforts to improve ease of doing business and making credit more affordable and accessible. So there is now very little reason for Indian companies not to really come up and be able to compete in the public procurement. You have seen the interest rates are falling, and there is plenty of liquidity in the banking system available. So for good bankable projects, access to credit, proper financial closure, timely financial closure should not be a problem.
Okay. Ambassador, since we are here, do we need to streamline the bidding process as well? Some kind of policy level changes as far as the bidding and procurement process also is concerned?
The procurement system for goods and for services also has a large overlap with the government e-marketplace, the GEM. So that is there, but there are agencies which float large tenders for for projects. Now that is going to be brought in within the purview of this order which has come out. So the first thing is that the bidding process in India, because in the government procurement agreement, one of the conditions is that there should be a bid challenge. That if you reject somebody's bid, then you have to give reasons for it, and you have to then supply a copy of that to the failed bidder. We have not subscribed to the WTO government procurement agreement, but courts have been very open to entertain petitions from failed bidders. So I don't think there is much that we need to do by way of changing the system of inviting bids for government projects or for public sector undertaking projects, because they are all subject to the scrutiny by courts. There is an aggrieved party in the matter. As far as procurement is concerned, I think the GEM portal has done well, mostly for products. So there should not be any problem in addressing that. And I must mention one exception which has been made till December of this year, which is that procurement for COVID-related items, whether they are PPE suits or other things, that will not be affected by this order which has come out on the 23rd of July.
And K. Badrinath, close the show for us with with your concluding remarks on the best way forward.
Okay. The issue here is we were discussing also about private procurements. My guess is private companies need to build the resilience to live without Chinese products and services. Second part is many of the components and spares which come from China can be sourced from other places as well. Third part is that several investments have been made by Chinese companies in this country. Perhaps unless there is a geostrategic and political agreement on issues of bilateral importance, these companies perhaps need to, in the long term, think about how to do business in this country. But unlike in several communist countries, India is an open democracy. Transparency is the mainstay, and my guess is that going forward, there will be a lot of transformation in terms of investments, procurement, as well as the way we do business in this country. Even the consumers who have a particular choice need to perhaps look at alternatives which are perhaps not available after the new investment and procurement orders come into effect going forward. My guess is there's both political side, economic angle, investment side, as well as from consumer centric, there is bound to be an overhaul in the way products and services are available in this country.
Okay, all right. On that note, then I'll call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. What's coming out of this discussion is that the bidding regulations order should not be seen as a move in isolation. It is part of a string of measures that the government has taken in the recent past, considering the present conditions, is what the panelists are suggesting. And also, there is no binding order on private entities. It does not keep out anyone, just says to follow the laid out guidelines and protocols. And this is not something unique to India. Countries around the world are doing it. And it is just that, it is in line with what global protocols are, is what the panelists are suggesting. With that, it's a wrap. See you again next time.
Thank you.